My first guest, I consider a good friend. He's been with us several times in the past few months, and a most original and creative talent in our business. Would you welcome Mr. Orson Welles? Welcome back. I got to tell you something. I thought about it upstairs tonight. The very first time you were booked on this show, I was really kind of scared. I don't know whether you know that or not. I didn't tell you that because I've always been in somewhat awe of you, and I did not know you at the time.
But we'd been on the same stage together, and no harm had come to you.
That is true. That is no harm. And I was. And then you were on that show the first night, and everything just worked great, and now it's so great to have you here all the time.
Well, I was much more scared than you were, believe me.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
no,
sure.
That I won't buy at all.
Well, of course. Of course, anybody's scared to get out in front of the public. I think it's only the people who haven't done it very long aren't scared. Just now, for instance, they said I was waiting behind the multicolored curtain, and one of the fellows back there says, "Well, this must be like old hat to you." You know, because I've been about 4 times on the show, and old hat. I was, it was just like an opening night. Nervous.
I guess performers, no matter how much professional they are, and sometimes the more professional, the more uptight they get. I remember reading, and I found it hard to believe that Helen Hayes at one time, when radio, could not stand at a microphone and read a script.
Not true.
Is that not true?
She did 6, it was under contract.
Is there somebody else I'm thinking of?
6 plays a year from me when I had an hour radio show, and she was super professional. She knew radio very well.
Then I have the wrong lady, but someone of that stature,
somebody like that,
absolutely was petrified to stand there with just the sheets of paper. And
yeah, a lot of people can't read. You know, reading on radio is another talent.
It is.
Some people can ad lib and some people can't, and some people can read a script and make it sound like they're making it up, and other people take a long time. Larry Olivier, for example, is a terrible radio actor.
But on stage, then?
Well, he needs his 3 or 4 days. His first readings are very mysterious. You think, that's Sir Lawrence, is it, you know?
That's unusual.
Yes, you see. And I had him on the radio several times. And the first time, we had an old radio actor called Ray Collins who came up to him, said, "Didn't I see you on Big Sister?" That was a soap opera, you know? And he came up to me later, Collins, and says, "This poor fellow doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe we better help him out a little."
Laurence Olivier.
Yes, that's right. Because he was nervous about reading the words off the page, which is a special thing.
I drive home now after the show, and one of the stations out here has been playing a lot of the old radio broadcasts. Suspense and a lot of the original comedy shows and drama shows, the Lux Radio Theater. And you realize what a wonderful medium radio really was when it was done well.
Dramatically, it was, I don't think there's any medium better, because it, first of all, it did what television doesn't do. It made people listen and pay attention, because as we are talking, the great majority of our public may well be wandering about the room or up to something else. But on radio, they couldn't follow it at all unless they were really following it.
That's true, and the imagination really had to take over. And that's why a lot of things on television they could never do as well. For example, I don't think on a television show they could do a really horror or mystery type of thing as well.
No, because your own imagination would do it.
Because they can't create those special effects that's in the mind all the time when you hear it.
Oh, yes.
For great days.
I had intended to bring a little magical illusion with me, and I put it in the wrong jacket.
No magic tonight?
So no magic tonight, and I also told myself that I would do what Mrs. Temple used to tell Shirley before every take, and I find I'm not doing it. Do you know what she used to say?
No.
This is really true. Just as they put that slate on, you know, take number 4, whatever it is, Littlest Rebel. She'd say, "Sparkle, Shirley." Sparkle, Shirley. So that's what I told myself behind the curtain. Sparkle, Orson.
Smile now. Let's see some of that. That's funny. I got a couple other things I want to ask you that I wasn't going to get to. That might be fun for the next time you come. I want to.
Am I leaving?
No. No, you're not while you're sparkling. I want you to get some of those scripts you have and bring them if you have them, and let's show the people how difficult or how unusual it is to read a dramatic thing. And
we can do a suspense show here.
And set it up, and we'll get the sound effects and actually recreate.
But do it seriously.
Do it straight. That would be fun.
Right. And it'll be very funny.
All right, no, it'll be serious. We'll be right back. More sparkling in just a moment. We're back. Orson and I. Orson just suggested during the break, the thing would be most apropos would be the Shadow, which you did on radio.
Yep.
The Shadow. Remember that
One of the
series? Now, in those days, it was interesting. The shows were live on radio, most of them. Some of them were transcribed.
No, network shows had to be live but by law.
Right.
The only transcribed shows were syndicated shows and local ones.
And you would play like maybe 5, 6, or 7 different shows, like in New York City, playing different characters on each one, right?
Yes, and I found out that you can hire an ambulance in New York without being sick.
Now, I didn't know that.
So I used to go from CBS to NBC and back again in an ambulance so I could get through the traffic in order to get from one soap opera to another, you know? And I wouldn't know what I was going to play. They'd hold an elevator open for me. I'd come in. They'd say, Studio 3. I'd go into Studio 3. They'd hand me a piece of paper. I'd say, what is it? And they'd say, 70-year-old Chinaman. And we're on the air. I didn't know how it turned out, what happened, anything. I was a 70-year-old Chinaman.
Just go right in.
We're talking about first readings. That's radio reading. Well, and, of course, radio actors like myself, that first reading is the best one. We haven't got anything better after that.
You just go do it. What would happen when you do a fluff? Now, there had to be times when the lines would...
Oh, yes. We had, I remember one morning, we used to do a show in my poorest days in radio when I had only one show to live on. Joe Cotton and I were both living on $18.50 a week, which was the fee for this. It was on what's called sustaining, and it was the School of the Air.
The School of the Air.
The School of the Air. And one morning it was about the Olympic Games in Greece. And the lady authoress, an unmarried woman in her late 60s, was sitting in this tiny studio with an organ and the rest of little cast of 6, and we picked up the script, pretty badly hungover, I may say, and went on the air live with dialogue that went like this. Ah, Pythias, you have the biggest lance in all Athens. Can you throw it over your shoulder? Let me see your discus, you know. And all perfectly clean, unbleepable stuff, but we were only about 6 minutes into it when they had to just play organ music. We were all on the floor because the spinster lady didn't know why. We thought it was all so dirty. And when we finally came to a line where I had to say, barrels and barrels of pith.
Organ music up and out.
Organ music, and I never worked for School of the Air again, nor did Joe Cotton. We starved for a month.
Off the School of the Air.
We were written out.
They did wonderful things in those days, and not all the stories are apocryphal. They're true.
The craziest are true.
They undressed Bill Stern once, you know that story?
Yes, I was there.
Bill Stern was one of the great sportscasters of all times, and he was at NBC, I think, at the time, and somebody went out to a studio tour, and while he's on the mic, they removed his trousers.
Oh, yes.
Now, there's nothing he can do. He is on the air.
That was Frank Reddick.
They're pulling his trousers down, and he's saying, in the meantime, the score on the Browns. Right. They pulled his trousers off. Now they go out into the hall, and there's a studio tour, and say, by the way, you better drop by 8H. Stern's doing the sports. And all these people walked by the window where he was sitting there in his shorts doing the thing. Wonderful things like that. Setting the script on fire was an old device, wasn't it?
Yes, and then we used to do a lot of shows in front of an audience, all dressed up in evening clothes. I never knew quite why.
Give it a dramatic
thing, you know, the Philip Morris hour and things like that. And we had a very dramatic director called Charles Martin, who used to give very dramatic cues, and he was, you know, the Toscanini of the radio directors. So the audience would be aware he's there. And he'd see him in his dinner jacket doing all of this. And I used to repeatedly pretend to drop my script and lose my pages before it came to my time in order to spoil his act. You see, because I'd drop all the pages and we'd all be picking them up saying, oh, that isn't it, must be this, and so on. Then while he was looking away, I'd get the real script out of my pocket, you see.
That could be heart attack time.
Yeah, heart attack time. But he gave us a rough time during rehearsal, so we felt he had it coming to us. But it was very funny. Sponsors in those days. Over and over again, radio actors would be barred forever, not allowed ever again to work on a show because it was a Camel show and they opened up a package of Chesterfields or something.
That's how seriously they took it at that time.
Just the package in your hand, blackballed forever. In radio, a medium where nobody could see anything.
I remember once when I was in radio in the Midwest, the favorite device there was because we didn't have a news editing staff or anything. We would just, pull it off the teletype, and the AP or UP would come in on the yellow sheets of paper, and the radio announcer, Ed knows this, would tear it off, and you go into the news, and you read what the stories are. They would type in, they would get a sheet, and in the middle of the news, they would type in some horrendous, obscene story that you didn't know the end of it until you were about halfway through, and then, of course, your eyes would drop down, and you'd say, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa today, Mr. William Scranton went into the barn, and all of a sudden you'd see what's coming. And you'd say, we'll be back to that story in a moment, but first, terrible things like that.
Yes.
But you would be halfway through the story before you realized you'd been had.
We had an announcer. I had for years. I had a show for Campbell Soup, which was called the Campbell Playhouse, and we had an announcer called Chappell.
Ernest Chappell.
Ernest Chappell had a very earnest and dramatic voice, and he used to rehearse his commercials very seriously, and there was a running line for a year, which was, as sure as you like chicken, you like Campbell's chicken soup. Now, I had been sent by somebody
a
copy of the Poulterer's Gazette, in which Campbell Soup was advertising for old roosters. Now, as a matter of fact, roosters make the best soup on very old chickens, but we didn't know that. We thought it was funny. So I had my cast every week in dress rehearsal. While Chappell was saying, you like Campbell's chicken soup, we were saying rooster soup right along with him. And he would say, now, fellows, I'm going to go on the air and I'm going to say rooster. He did.
He did. That's what's called is the pre-psyching somebody out until you get them absolutely mad. Now, you know the famous story. This is fun tonight. This is just fun and reminiscing. You know the famous story that George Burns did to Jack Benny? It had to do with Jeanette MacDonald, did it not, Freddie?
I don't know it.
It's a wonderful story, and it shows you how you can psych somebody out. Apparently, Jeanette MacDonald and her husband threw lovely parties, but inevitably, before the evening was over, somebody would ask Jeanette MacDonald to sing, which she would.
If they didn't, she had somebody hired who would.
Because she wanted to sing. So George used to say to Jack Benny, 3 days before the party, he'd say, Jack, when Jeanette MacDonald gets up to sing at the party, don't laugh. It would be very embarrassing. He'd call him the next day. Jack, somebody's going to ask Jeanette to sing. I would be very embarrassed if you laughed while she... Sure enough, so they're at the party and somebody says, Jeanette, would you sing a song? And Jack goes right out. It was all over. He was physically unable not to explode with laughter.
I know that's true, as it sounds like George for one thing.
He was.
And Jack also was, you could get him quicker than anybody who ever lived.
Was a great patsy for George.
Oh, he was one of the only great comedians who really enjoyed other comedians.
Right, he did.
You do too, but they're so rare, the people, the really good comedians because of that false laugh, if you've ever watched them.
Oh, trying to break up.
That's right. I used that in Grossingers in 1939.
I like your Ernest Chappell reading of the chicken soup. What is that again? It's
as sure as you like chicken, you like Campbell's chicken rooster.
Oh, I got another story. I got another one come to mind. Oh, this is more fun. Ed Hurley, one night. I've told a story on the air before. Ed Hurley, who does the Kraft cheese commercials and has for years of the Kraft Playhouse, had the actor Seshua Hayakawa, and they had fit in. He's in the booth.
You're in trouble now.
No, he's absolutely... And, of course, Ed Hurley has this wonderful rhythm in his voice, and he's just finished how to make this wonderful cheese and send for the booklet and 50 ways to prepare Kraft cheese. And he's in the booth sitting like this, and it's the end of... the credits are coming over the crawl. And Ed Hurley, he says, next week we have the bridges of so-and-so and so-and-so starring that magnificent actor, Seshihai Kawaka. And you heard this, he said, I mean, of course, Seshihai Kuiwa. And now you hear just a little bit of it in the booth. And Ed now comes on to try to really bail himself out. And he says, you'll have to, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but I've always had a little problem with that name. But, of course, I'm talking about Seshihai Kawaka. He did it 3 times in a row, and I fall out of the chair. I am absolutely... By then it was all... He couldn't get it if Hayakawa was there. He couldn't have got it.
I had a show called The Cornstarch. I was the voice of Cornstarch.
Oh, you're putting me on now.
I kid you not, and it was one of my first really good jobs because it was 5 days a week, $75 a time. All I had to come in was read a poem while the singing strings of somebody or other played, and I'd read this thing. And I had to write a little thing about the poem before I would read it. It was a 15-minute spot for the housewife at noon. And I had been up about 3 nights without being to sleep for overwork, as you may imagine. And came in one day, and it was a poem they picked for me by Robert Browning, and I couldn't understand what it was about. And I didn't know what to say about it. And I remembered a line from a play that I'd been in, The Barretts of Wimpole Street with Cornell, when she says to Browning, who was a character in the play, what does this poem mean? And he says... kind of a funny line that he really said in life. When this was written, only God and Robert Browning know what it meant. Now only God does. So I thought, I'll say this. The ladies will enjoy it. It's on singing strings. And all the sponsors, and the smaller a show was, the more sponsors would be in a
of course,
in a room, you know, were gathered. And I said, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This poem puts me in mind of what the author said originally, that when this was written, only Brob and Grobbit breeding. When Grot was written, only Grobbit breeding. Music continued. When Grob and Gribbit... When God was written, only Brob and Vrit and Dritting. And then I saw all of these faces, purple and black, staring at me. And I just put down the script, walked out of the studio, and never saw them again.
Never saw... Oh, that's wonderful.
No way.
So once you're into it, there is no way to recover except leave and come another day. Hey, I thank you. I understand you have to leave early.
I have to leave early, and I have to say, you made a remark there that there were 2 people by the name of Orson Welles.
That's true.
And, I mean, by the name of Orson. And, of course, neither of those statements is true.
Who's another person named Orson?
You see, there is nobody named Orson. It's like saying, you know, they make champagne in Argentina. Figure that one out.
Robert Browning, Dolman.
Yes. No, there is a deep message in that, because... the very talented fellow, and I wish you weren't, who's following me with this name,
Orson Bean,
you know, was really born with a very straight name. His name is actually Wilmot Entwistle.
I don't buy that at all.
Well, it's a name like that. Ask it.
Wilmot Entwistle?
It's a name like that. Ask. What happened was, in those days, Bob, you know, they used to use my name on radio just to make people laugh. They used to think Orson was that funny. Orson. And maybe it still is. And this fellow, Wilmot...
Wilmot Entwistle?
Yes, Entwistle or Bracegriddle, whatever it may be. Deciding at the beginning of his career that since he didn't know any good material, he'd better come out with a funny name.
Took up Orson.
Invented Orson Bean.
Do you know anybody else besides you and Orson Bean named Orson?
His name isn't Orson.
Well, I mean... Well, professionally it is, but do you know anybody else?
No. No, and there'd better not be.
Thanks for coming. The Carpenters were on the Tonight Show just about the time they were really getting started and coming to national attention. And this Tuesday night, there'll be special guests on the Bob Hope Special. And on November 17th, Billboard magazine, which is kind of the Bible of the recording industry, is going to be devoting a special edition honoring the Carpenters. This is their new album, which contains 12 singles recorded in the last 4 years. 10 have sold over 1 million copies, and many more than that. Would you welcome, please, Carpenters.
Before the second show, your guitar, it sounds so sweet and clear, but you're not really here. It's just the radio. Coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby, I love you, I really do. Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. What I've got they used to call the blues. Nothing is really wrong. I'm feeling like I don't belong. I'm walking around some kind of lonely clown. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. Funny, but it seems I always wind up here with you. It's nice to know somebody loves me. Funny, but it seems that it's the only thing to do, to run and find the one who loves me. What I feel is come and gone before. There's no need to talk it out. What it's all about, hanging around, nothing to do but run. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. Hanging around, nothing to do but run. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. I'll say goodbye, love. No one ever cared if I should live or die. Time and time again, the chance for love has passed me by. And all I know of love is how to live without it. I just can't seem to find it. So I made my mind up, I must live my life alone. And though it's not the easy way, I guess I've always known I'd say goodbye to love. There are no tomorrows for this heart of mine. Surely time will lose these bitter memories, and I'll find that there is someone to believe in and to live for. But for now, this is my song, and it's goodbye to love. I'll say goodbye to
We are back now. Hey, it's good to see you again. Hey, 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 You said something usually, when you first started, you sat at the drums all the time. Now you're standing up more. You miss sitting back?
Well, yeah, they finally got the message across to me that they wanted me to get up. But I was the only girl in the group, so they were looking at me.
Yeah.
For some of the songs, she says.
Yeah.
Plays the drums.
Hey, it's so good to see you. You've had such a tremendous success the past few years. It's just
Thank you.
been incredible and well-deserved. You're on the road a lot, and I understand you have the same problems. You work, what, 6 out of 7 days most of the time?
Just
yeah,
about,
when we go out on tour, it's 7 days a week.
Yeah. Do all the things happen? The luggage doesn't show up? The instruments don't show up?
Not long ago, we played Notre Dame the day of the USC Notre Dame game. And we flew in late because we couldn't get a motel reservation because everything had been booked up.
Right.
like a year in advance. They take.
We played the date, and then we were going to fly to Evansville that night.
Right.
And we lost an engine. We have a charter, a 2-engine plane.
And then you lost an
turboprop,
engine?
and we lost an engine. And
While we were in the air.
Oh, yeah, while we're... And he landed it, did a terrific job, but still...
Luckily, the screaming probably covered up the noise.
Right.
Well, we
Didn't hear it.
It was a good thing, because we didn't know about it. We heard a power cut, but this was after we went to Notre Dame and had an accident. It was a great day. And then we did the concert and got on the plane, split, and we were like in the air about a half an hour. And
we heard a sudden drop in the sound on the right side, and then the pressurization went, and our ears started to plug. But
nobody really knew,
okay.
because they didn't want to tell us, because it would be instant.
But when we landed and we
panic.
saw the fire truck, and then we got off the plane, and the men were in the funny suits, asbestos.
Yeah, asbestos. We figured that nice.
That's gonna shake you a
really
little
take
bit.
care of the
Oh,
luggage.
yeah. But, I mean, on the road, it's one thing or another all the time.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay on the ground.
There was
Except it's not safe down here either.
Yeah. There was some talk a while that you were going to do your own television show. Are you going to proceed on that, or are you giving it up, or what?
The special, or?
No, just as a regular series that you were going to do.
I didn't think, we really don't, never got into that, because it takes, I'm telling you how much time it takes, that's right.
No, I understand.
But we like playing in concert, and really the concerts and the recording
takes up all our
so
time.
much time.
Yeah.
We really wouldn't have the time.
Even though I'm in television, I think sometimes you miss on television. You can't really get the sound. There's nothing like an in-person concert, I think, for music to get close to the audience and let them hear the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like even from here to there, it's too far. Move them up. But then there's no room for the cameras.
What's a gold album mean? Does that mean 1 million?
Okay, $1 million in sales is a gold album.
How many
that means
you got
it's
now?
about 440,000
Right.
albums. Now, we've been lucky enough to have each of our albums, except the first one, sell over 1 million copies.
Yeah.
Now, the Close
That's
View album
incredible.
sold about 4 million copies, and the others have all sold.
That's really incredible.
Oh, it's
No,
all
Thank
sold
you.
over 1 million. That's a platinum album. When you
Platinum.
A million
when you get
units.
1 million units
that's
of an
great.
album sold.
Can I ask you a rather dumb question?
Sure.
With the success you've had, are you happier now performing than you were, say, when you were just starting? You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah.
You're just busier, happier.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure. You know,
Well,
we're happy,
that's
and
what
this
I
is
meant.
what we
Sometimes
wanted.
success doesn't always go along with it.
No, I mean, things were a lot more,
There have been a lot of groups, as you know, that have come up very quickly, and all of a sudden, because of that sudden success,
yeah.
it's disappeared very
We're
quickly.
trying to hold our own, there are a lot of pressures,
Yeah.
This is what we wanted to do, but
Yeah, well, when you say, when you try and get a recording contract, and then you finally get one, and you say, oh, now all I have to do is get a hit. But you really don't know what that means until it hits. And then it kind of...
Then you want to get
You
the
can't
album.
really
then we gotta
call
do
you
this.
hardly can get a job before you get a hit.
You can't.
You're lucky, if you get a thing here or there. Then the hit record comes along, and it's what you wanted, and all of a sudden the bookings start, especially if you sell albums.
Right.
And then they say, well, if you enjoy it, you have to have a follow-up.
Isn't it
And you
funny how you
say-
run into all the people who said, boy, I knew then.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
You
they're all
found
over.
friends real quick.
Yeah, well, it's once it happens, you never really know how it happens
Yeah.
or when, but all of a sudden you go from here to here, and you're like, there's no stopping.
Yeah, well, the main thing is you still look like you enjoy performing, and that
Oh,
comes
it's a
over.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's,
we love
that's
it.
the whole
It is.
thing. Let me interrupt a second. Then you're going to do another thing, right, for us? Here's a day, a typical day. Yes, I have it right here. In the life of a lumberjack that you've been asking about. We're back. I understand this next thing you're going to do for us is based on a true happening. Something to do with you.
Yeah, it's
Richard?
a song that John Bettis and I wrote in 1967. We had a group, and we were trying to get a recording contract, and we weren't getting too far. And,
Nowhere.
We wanted to make some money to pay for some tapes that we wanted to record, so several of us worked for about 3 months in '67 at Disneyland. And they assign a guy to you who's actually your boss, but they call him a talent supervisor.
Right.
And we did not get along. Our attitude wasn't too good, and so we didn't get along with him too well. And he fired us, and we wrote a song about him.
About this guy who
Yeah.
scanned you?
And-
Good. Retribution. Rears his head. Okay, you all set? You want to run over
Sure.
and join the group? Here are Karen, Richard, the carpenter.
Mr. Gouda, say, Mr. Gouda, may I have a moment with you? But there is something I've got to say, and please don't let it scare you away. Mr. Gouda, say, Mr. Gouda, I have seen you go through a day. You're everything a robot is for, clocking at 9 and roll out the door at 5.
You reflect the company image. You maintain the rules to live by. Shiny shoes, let's keep a neat hair.
Now that you're wearing a coat and tie, Mr. Gouda, say, Mr. Gouda, someday soon you may realize you've blown your life just playing a game when no one wins but everyone stays the same. Mr. Gooder, say, Mr. Gooder, someday soon you may realize your life just playing a game where no one wins but everyone stays the same. Say, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Richard. We'll be back in a moment. Make the good times last with a Sony tape recorder. Brought to you by Super Scope. Here we are back at the show.
This crowd is
Just feel it. Yeah, just feel it out.
I want to see if anybody else is going to applaud. Then they'll go.
I pronounced one of our guests, the young gentleman from England, who is quite a singer. Very exciting, that you will see tonight. His name is Gordino. I said Giordino. It's Peter Gordino.
Gordino.
He has 4 lovely young girls with him tonight that are going to dance. Yeah. Nice production number here tonight.
I saw one in makeup. A comely lassie. Blonde of coif. Rather clever of figure as well.
Oh, yes. Doc's going to be appearing this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like you didn't know. Up at Magic Mountain.
Yeah.
With the Now Generation Brass and Today's Children, the whole show. That he has successfully taken around the country and made a bundle with.
I'd like to mention that I'm going to be playing at Buffalo.
What?
It'd be nice if you'd mention I'm going to be at Melody Fair in Buffalo this weekend with my act.
You'll be in
Melody Fair in Buffalo.
New York?
Buffalo, New York. Yes, they haven't moved it, have they?
No, Buffalo. You're going to...
What are you going to be doing this weekend?
Well, now that you bring it up, I open Las Vegas Saturday night.
Well,
did you know that?
We can mention all that.
I do. Freddie DeCordova will be back here.
Right.
No, we open for 2 weeks at the Sahara Hotel Saturday night. You're going to be in Buffalo, Doc. It's nice, everybody.
Nice to know we're all working.
Did you see the Patsy Awards last night?
No.
They have a show, I guess it's televised nationally, called the Patsy Awards every year, where they give awards to outstanding animals, which strikes me kind of funny. I don't know why. That have been in motion pictures or, I guess, television the past year. And tragedy struck last night. I don't know whether you knew it right afterwards. Well, Ben the Rat won. Did you know that? Ben the Rat won an award.
Whoa.
And before he could accept, Morris the cat ate him. And then Morris was chased up a tree by a dog by the name of Farouk, that also won up. The whole thing was a shambles. Betty White and Alan Ludden cried for a couple of days and just dissolved on them. Billy Graham, I like to count as a good friend. He certainly needs no laborious introduction. For the past, I guess, almost 2 decades, he has brought guidance and comfort to many, many millions of people of all faiths. Would you welcome, please, evangelist, author, educator, Dr. Billy Graham.
Well, that was quite a monologue, and I appreciated one thing about it. You've been reading the Bible, I see.
Occasionally.
You knew about the commandments.
Yes, I know. You know, I would sound awful, but if you ask me to name all 10 of them right now, and this probably sounds terrible, I would probably leave one out somewhere.
Oh, I think you could think of all of them.
Yeah,
because all of us have broken all of them. So I think we could figure them out.
Do you think everybody...
Everybody has broken every commandment, yes, sir. The Bible says if we break in one point, we're guilty of all.
Oh, I see.
And then when Jesus came after Moses, he explained that the Ten Commandments can be broken in your heart by thought and intent. So in that sense, we're all guilty, and that's the reason the Bible says that everybody's a sinner. Even Ed is a sinner.
Well, that
Comes as quite a surprise.
they could add, if there had been room on the tablets, they'd have put four more commandments on for him. Are you able to quote? I'm sure you are. I know some people who have memorized the entire Bible. I'm sure you have.
No, I have not.
Run across people that can do that.
I have memorized parts of it, but I met a man in Africa, an African in Nigeria, about 15 years ago, that had memorized the entire New Testament in 2 languages, English and his native language.
Well, that is incredible.
And I have met a number of people, not in America, but I've met a number of people in foreign countries that have memorized the entire Bible. I met several in Korea last week that had memorized the entire New Testament.
That's incredible. That
It is
requires
incredible.
some kind of almost special
And there are,
memory.
and yet it's not so much, because there are less words in the New Testament than in the average Sunday edition of the New York Times. And many people read the New York Times through every week.
I
Well,
hear
you could read
people that
you
do.
could read the New Testament through every week if you wanted to.
I didn't realize that. Do you like what they have done? Do you like the modern interpretations of the Bible? And I read that they're working on a now more or less an updated version of the King James.
Yes, there are a number of. In fact, there's about one version, I'm told, a week coming out.
Right. Some biblical
In various
scholars seem
parts
to
of the
feel
world.
that it loses, I guess, something in the modernization.
Well, it does in some areas, but in others it makes it clearer, because you see, when Jesus and the other people in the Bible were speaking, they spoke the language of the people. We no longer speak that King James Version language, Elizabethan English.
Mm-hmm.
And many people don't understand the Bible just because they don't understand that language. It's no longer the language that America speaks, no longer the language that Britain speaks. I have people in areas where I come from, in North Carolina, up in the mountains, that some of them still speak Elizabethan English.
Is that true?
And some of those old hillbilly songs that we have are really from the old Scottish songs of 200 years ago.
You just mentioned Korea a moment ago. You've just been overseas and in Korea, and I understand the crowds were the largest you've practically ever played to in your life.
Well, they are probably the largest that anybody has ever spoken to in history, because the smallest crowd we had was 500,000. And the largest crowd was last Sunday afternoon. We had 1,100,000 in one service. And that was so incredible that I could hardly take it in.
Now, you're not talking about television, are you?
No.
Really? I mean, an actual mass
crowd.
of people.
We had 7 cameras on it. We have pictures of it, and it will be on television soon.
Well, we have some film excerpts, I think, of this crusade that you've made overseas. That is incredible. It's got to be a overwhelming feeling to
Well, a
stand up in front of a
historian
crowd
told
that
me
large.
the other day that the nearest that he knows in history was Dwight Eisenhower when he went to India in, I forgot what year, I think it was 55, and had about 800,000 that he spoke to at one time. But this crowd was electronically counted, and the organizers that counted it had a very ingenious way in which they counted. And so I would say it was fairly accurate. It might have been under or over. Some people thought it was over, some under, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million people.
That's incredible. Can we show some of these? We have a short film clip here. I believe this was shot in Seoul, Korea.
Seoul, Korea, that's correct.
And
I haven't seen this film.
Billy, you can comment on it.
That is our arrival at the airport. My wife and I are arriving at the Seoul airport about 2 weeks ago. And that is my wife. And they came out with all their flags, and a choir sang. They
Was
had
this your
government
first,
officials. No, I was in Korea during the war, the
Right.
Korean War, about 22 years ago, and spoke to people. Now, these are people here that when all-night prayer meetings, they stayed up all night to pray. And every church in Korea has a prayer meeting at 4:30 in the morning. And the Korean church is growing. Now, there's my wife and me in the plaza, which is 1 mile long, a paved strip, 1 mile long and about 1/4 mile wide. And we're talking on the day before the meetings begin. That's where the people are going to come, and they've marked it off so they can count the people. You see, each area there seats 4,000 in each square. And they marked it off so they count. Now, this is the last day where the million people, now it fades into the background, the millions. They're in an airplane taking this quite some distance
I can see the
up.
crowd right in the middle.
And these are the people gathering. They started gathering several hours early, and in fact, many people were there all night. Thousands were there all night, spending the night so they could get a front seat. And they sat so close together. These are the people still coming together. And it was a fantastic sight for us. I had never seen so many people together anywhere, of course, in the world. And it was very much like talking on radio, because the people couldn't see me, and all I could see was a mass of faces. And that goes on for a mile in each direction.
Is that the interpreter now?
That is the interpreter. I say a phrase, and he says a phrase. I say God is love, he said God is love. I say God is great, he says God is great. And we go 1, 2, 1, 2, that quick. And he is very fast and very good. And the people listened and they responded. And as I said, the church in Korea is growing 4 times faster than the population. Now there I am leaving by helicopter, and they are waving goodbye to me with their programs.
Look at that.
1 million people saying goodbye to us.
That is
a very moving
incredible
sight.
scene. That's an incredible scene.
There's a great religious revival on all through the Far East. And as a matter of fact, I think the center and the gravitational center of Christianity is shifting now to the Far East. Mm-hmm. And this is happening in areas in Japan, in Thailand, in the Philippines, in Indonesia, more in Indonesia than any other country.
How do you account for that?
Well, Christianity began in the Middle East. It went to North Africa, then it went to Europe, then it shifted to America in the last century, and now it's moving to the Far East, where it's never had much of a grip.
Well, they say history runs in cycles, and they're like all major countries have their particular decade or
that's right.
Generation, and it revolves in kind of a historical cycle.
Well, my wife was born and reared in China.
That's what I heard.
And she had never been back to the Far East since then, since she was 17. And it was a very moving experience for her. She went to school in Korea, up in the North Korea, in Pyongyang. And it was a tremendous thing to see those people and the dedication and the discipline. They study. They get up early in the morning to pray. There are 1,500 Protestant churches in Seoul alone. And it's unbelievable what's happened in the last 5 years.
It was an incredible film. Let me interrupt for a second. Forgive me, but we will be right back after this word. Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Billy Graham. I always look forward to your visits on our show because I feel I can ask you questions, personal questions, which I'm sure a lot of people would ask around the country, and I always try to project myself and what you must be asked as you travel around. Do you ever think about death at all? I mean, does any fear of it? You read about so many people nowadays that seem to be so uptight about it. And I saw a program the other night about it where doctors were trying to prepare. Doctors had no preparation in how to treat patients that were, for example, terminal. And they found that people went through various stages about death. But I wonder, as a healthy man, we all think about it occasionally, but I wonder if you ever think about it, have any fear of it.
I think we think about it a great deal, Johnny, more than we admit, because the University of Louisville did a study some time ago of university and college young people, and the #1 subject that they think about between the ages of 18 and 22 is sex. And I believe it was about every 3 to 5 minutes they think about sex. And then the second
time
subject,
interval has broadened out since I was in school.
the second subject that they think about most is death. And that comes about every 4 to 5 minutes. A person at that age level thinks about death.
That's incredible.
And the suicide rate, for example, among students, as you know, is very high throughout the world, in Japan or in Sweden or in the United States, all over the world. And young people do think about death, as well as older people. And it's going to happen to all of us, and yet we hate to face it. And I think that the subject of death has been suppressed in our generation, very much like sex was in the 19th century, the discussion of it. We buried it. We made out like it didn't exist.
Well, I got in some trouble a few weeks ago because with the morticians around the country, because I was talking about death and the fact that we tell children that the grandfather has just gone away and he is sleeping and so forth, rather than telling children exactly what does happen and about the high cost of funerals and the pomp that goes with it, and they kind of got on me.
But you know, the fear of death is gone when a person, when I found Christ as my Lord and my Savior, the fear of death was taken away, and now I'm just as certain that when I die, that I'm going into another world that's just as real as this one, that it's helped me to face life here and now.
That was my question. What do you envision after
death? That's right. Well, I envision heaven. And I'm not going there because I've preached to a lot of people. I'm not going there because I've read the Bible. I'm not going there because I'm good. I'm going there because of what Christ did for me on the cross. I'm saved by the grace of God. Now, the word grace carries with it the idea that I don't deserve it. I can't buy my way. I can't work my way. I'm a sinner, just like you, and just like Ed.
And you folks. Excuse me for interrupting. It's terrible. I hate to stop when we're just starting here, but please stay with us, and as soon as we get this out of the way, we'll come back and continue. And now a word from Doc about the American Motors Gremlin. Welcome back. We're talking with Billy Graham. Well, you were right in the midst of talking about when people die, rather than use the euphemism passing away or gone to your just reward. The correct word is die. So you have no fear because you've accepted, you said Christ is your Savior, and you have absolutely no fear. But when you said, and I think it may sound like a childish question, but I think even adults ask themselves, you envision life somewhat as it is here on earth, and that's very difficult for the average person to visualize at all.
I think that's the only thing, the only point of reference really that we have to go by is on earth, because we don't know. The Bible teaches that we are going to have a body, and it's going to be a body like that of Christ. The Bible teaches that the ultimate goal of the true believer is going to be a place called heaven or paradise. It's not going to be a place where we sit under palm trees and have a beautiful girl fan us, as some people envision heaven. It's going to be a place where we work. And I think that we are going to be able to go from planet to planet and from one part of the universe to the other, and I think we're going to be able to go as fast as thought. And I think we're going to have other worlds to conquer. We're going to have tremendous enterprises that we're going to do on other planets. And I think there are many indications in the Bible about this. We're not going to go and just sit down and rest and relax. Now, the first few years, I'd like to rest a while and play a little golf.
Sure.
And I hope they have golf balls and
they have a great course.
Up there.
They have a great course.
Because I'll miss it if we don't. But I asked my wife one day, who's a great student of the Bible, I said, Ruth, do you think there's going to be golf in heaven? She gave a marvelous reply. She said, if golf is important for your happiness, it'll be there.
Can't argue with that. Do you also envision, for the sinner that, say, doesn't accept in the Christian religion Christ as your Savior, that there is purgatory, per se? Do you think there's that kind of a God that would condemn or damn people? But when children grow up, you know, they are told this very often. You be good, you go to heaven. And that's the child's concept of heaven, is sitting around on a cloud. Mm-hmm. If you are bad, you will be punished. And that's kind of a frightening concept for a young mind to grab a hold of.
It is frightening, and it should be. I think that the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And we have a false concept of God. God is a God of holiness. He's a God of righteousness. He's a God of judgment. And a person who faces Christ straight out and deliberately rejects him, that person is in a totally different category than the person in the middle of China that never had a chance and never heard. The person who deliberately rejects is going to pay a fearful price. Now, Jesus used a number of words to describe it. So does the Old Testament. The prophets used it. It's called punishment. It's called condemnation. It's called Hades. It's called all sorts of things. Whatever it is, and I'm not prepared to say what it is, but what it is, it's separation from God, and that in itself will be hell. Because you take in this life, if you live this life totally separated from God, from all love and all joy and all peace and all satisfaction, that would be hell in this world. So in a sense, the person who doesn't know God here is already in a sense in hell. Mm-hmm. And that will be extended into the future life, according to the Bible. And I think it is something to contemplate. I think that we're taught that fear is very important. I teach my children that to watch out for rattlesnakes, because we have a lot where I live. I teach them to be careful in traffic. My son flies an airplane. I always say, be careful when you go up there. I want him to have a certain amount of tension and fear as he's flying, mm-hmm. so that he doesn't have a wreck and kill himself. And there is a legitimate fear, and I think we should face squarely who God is and what He demands of us.
Do you feel sorry for people who espouse the atheistic philosophy and live their life and say, all right, I'm not rejecting God, they just live their life as if God does not exist, and they go their way and do their thing?
Well, I would, 99% of the American people say they believe in God, according to the Catholic Digest. But there are millions of what I would call practical atheists. They say with their mind they believe in God. Something inside says, well, there must be a God, but they live as though there is no God. And so in a sense, that is a form of atheism. And to those people, I think that's a very dangerous life.
Yeah. Can I ask you a personal question now? And I'm not asking this as a shock value, because I'm sure as someone who goes all around the world, you're familiar. Have you ever seen an X-rated movie? I don't mean that to put you on the spot, but it's so much in the news, and it has so much to do, a lot of people think, with morality or a lessening of morality in the country. And I just wondered, as somebody who preaches the gospel, in your line of work, that you would have to see it to be able to be informed.
Well, I have seen several R-rated movies. I saw 2 in a hotel where you call down and order room service, and they turn it on your television screen.
I didn't know that.
And I went to see. I saw one with my son in London. He wanted to see one that he said was a marvelous picture about motorcycles. And it was called The Mechanic. I found out that it had nothing to do with motorcycles. And it was AAA rated in London. That was supposed to be excellent, but they killed people in every way possible. I think that you can kill, and people died in every way possible you can die. And the the R-rated in this country, I think, would come from the violence rather than sex. There was no sex in the picture.
Right. Would you say...
I don't make it a practice to go see.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I think what I was trying to draw, do you think that, say, a young person, and using, they'll say the word normal, I'm not talking about the average young person, would be more adversely affected by exposure to an explicit sexual film than he would to excessive violence in a film where, as you say, that there is killing and murder and garrotings and so forth for no rhyme or reason? Which of those do you think would affect him or harm him the most? Do you think?
I think both would harm him. I think that I wouldn't be prepared to say which would be the worst. I think the violence that we're seeing in some of our pictures today is having a devastating effect on people. It can't help but have it. I think that we're seeing it in the generation that we're growing up in today. This is the first generation that is a television-reared generation. Now, this is not against television. Right. I'm for television. I use television. It's the greatest means of communication we've ever had. But just like atomic energy, you can use it for good or you can use it for bad. And I think that a great deal of what we see today, especially in the motion pictures, they're trying to get more pornographic and more violent to attract people back to the theater. But I think that we have seen in Sound of Music or the Walt Disney films that you can make great motion pictures and make a lot of money and be clean. And I think that there is a swing back in that direction. I was reading the other day, I think it was Frances Langford or some former film star who said that she wasn't going back to see any motion pictures till they cleaned up. And I think that when we say clean up, we think in terms of sex, but I say in terms of violence. Right. The violence, I think, is helping to create a great deal of the violence in our society. And I would like to see some good, clean, honest, great motion pictures like we used to have.
Yeah, maybe it'll come about. I hope.
You know, if you want to see a good movie now, you have to wait and see something on The Late Show maybe, and see something that was made about 25 or 30 years ago.
They're all playing too. What's the most often single question you're asked?
I suppose that the one that I would be asked the most is, how do I find God? I think that more people write me or ask me that question than any other question. I would say the greatest problem people write me about is loneliness. I think loneliness is probably the greatest problem in America as far as the psychological problem that people face.
From both young and old?
From both young and old. You can be lonely in a crowd, and psychologists have begun to call it cosmic loneliness. In other words, I can be in a party, having a big time, and all of a sudden, for just a moment or two, there sweeps over me a sense of loneliness. And I personally believe this is a loneliness for God. We're made for God, and without God, we have a loneliness. There's a dissatisfaction, and we never find it, no matter how powerful or how rich or what pleasures we have. There's something empty there that only God can fill.
You were just telling me during a break your schedule coming up, which is incredible. You leave tomorrow, I believe, for Atlanta.
Yes, I'm going to Atlanta, and we open in Atlanta next Monday night in the Atlanta Stadium where the Falcons and the Braves play, and we'll be there for a week. And then I go to Minneapolis for a crusade in the fairgrounds, and then I go to Israel and to Jordan, and then to London for a crusade in August, and then in September in the University area of North Carolina in the stadium, and then to St. Louis, and so on and so on.
Just fantastic. Well, I hope between one of those trips you will drop by and see us again.
And sometime we'd like to have you and Ed come to one of our crusades.
We could probably use it, Billy. Badly. Get us before it's too late. Thanks for being here.